Hello everyone, this is Manoj. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we'll discuss and learn about how we can create CRUD operation in ASP.NET Core Web API project using SQL Server. Alright, so first of all, let's create a new project in Visual Studio. So I'm using Visual Studio 2019. You can use any version of Visual Studio. Meanwhile, let me also open SQL Server because we will need a table and a database. So this is Visual Studio 2019 interface. Click on create a new project. Now from the templates we need to select ASP.NET Core Web API. So here on this right hand side it will display all the templates whatever is available in Visual Studio, and here you will see the recent project templates whatever you have created. So you see ASP.NET Core Web API, I have created multiple projects, so it is showing on the top. So let's click here, or you can search in this right hand side templates. So click on ASP.NET Core Web API. Next.
Hey everyone, this is Manoj. I have one announcement. If you are working on your college final year project, or if you are doing any internship and you have been assigned a project in which you are facing any kind of problem with the front end project, with the back end project, or any issues with your database, so you can contact me on my Instagram handle. My Instagram handle is open programmer. You can also see the screenshot on the screen, and if you want you can find my other contact details in channel description. So whenever you face or feel any kind of problem issues related to any programming language, let's say React JS, jQuery, Ajax, HTML, JavaScript, or MySQL, SQL Server, .NET Core API, .NET MVC, so you can contact me anytime on my Instagram handle. My Instagram handle is open programmer, again I'm telling you, and you will also find these contact details on my channel description. So let's continue with the video.
And here you need to give a project name. So let me give CRUD app.NET Core, and let me give a location. Click on next. Now it will ask you the version. So leave as it is, .NET 3.1, authentication type null. Click on create. So now it will create our new project with the name ASP.NET Core Web API on this given location. It will take some time. Let's see the pop-up creating project. Let's also go to SQL Server and connect locally. Perfect. Click on new query. So now we are in master database. So here in master, let's create a new table. If you want, you can create a separate database, but for this video I'm using the existing one, which is master database. So create table tbl crud net core, and in this let's use some fields. So first one is id integer, and let's make it auto increment. Int identity 1 comma 1, so it will start from 1 and it will increment by 1. And also make it primary key, and name varchar, and let's say email varchar, and is active 1, sorry, is active int. And after that one more created on, that will be date time. So execute the query, sorry, now execute the query. Query completed successfully. Now select star from tbl.net core. Name email is active created on. Perfect. Now go to Visual Studio. So see, this is the default interface of a new .NET Core Web API project. So close this default page. And if you see the Solution Explorer, we have these file and folders. And if you expand, we'll get a default folder, Weather Forecast Controller. And we have app settings, program, startup, each and everything. All right. First of all, In the folder, add a new folder and give it a name, models. And in the model folder, let's create a class. Let's say employee. You can give any meaningful name as per your project requirement, but for this video tutorial, I'm using employee. And in this class, we need to create some properties. So prop tab, so it will create a shortcut to create properties. So again, prop string and name. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm creating all the properties respective to these SQL fields. All right. So again, prop string email, prop string is active. Let me change the data type, that is integer. And for date time, we don't need anything because we'll pass direct a get date method. So it will get the date time. So let's save. Now in the controllers part, right click on the controller, add controller, and from the template we'll choose Web API. So API controller empty, click on add. Now we need to give a meaningful name of a controller. So let's remove these values and let's give a employee. Again, you can give any meaningful name based on your project. So here, first of all, we need to use I configuration class. So private read only I configuration. For that we need to use a namespace. So control dot, it will display all the respective namespaces. So you see Microsoft dot extensions dot configuration. Click on it. So namespace has been added and create an object. So configuration underscore configuration. Now we need to create a constructor of this employee controller. For to create a constructor, we have a shortcut. So just type CTOR and hit enter. So it will create a constructor. See the same name of the class. It means this is the constructor. So here also we need to pass a object of I configuration, but make sure you will create a separate, a different with this object. All right. And in the constructor, we will initialize this and underscore configuration is equal to configuration. I'll tell you why we are using this in I configuration. Using this I configuration class, we will get our connection string, which we will use for the connectivity with the SQL Server. All right. So our constructor part is done. Now let's create APIs to insert, delete, create, update. All right. So first one is get. So as the verb is http get, and let's give a route, route, and let's say get all employees. And in the models folder, let's quickly create one more class with the response. And in this class, we will have first property would be status code, and another would be status message, and we'll also need this employee class, and we also need list of employees. So list of employees and change the name list employees. All right. So our response class is ready. Now go back to employees controller. Here we'll create a get API with public response. Why it is not showing in the IntelliSense? Because the employee, the response and employee both are in models folder. So for that we need to import this namespace. All right, CRUD app.NET Core dot models. So here just press control dot. So you see using CRUD .NET Core dot models. Double click on it. So reference has been added. Now let me use the same name here, the method name, and here it is a get API, so we don't need to pass anything here. Now response response equal new response and return response. Save. So here we will use our SQL Server logic. So for that, on the models folder, click add new class and give it a name. Dal means data access layer. So here we will use some namespaces. Let's say first of all, let me create a method. So public response. Let me use the same name here and paste. So it will take a reference of SQL connection, and for that we need to use a namespace SQL.data client. So click here and install package system.data.client and find and install latest version. So it will install this package. You see system.data.sql client has been added. Now give it a name, connection, done. So here now SQL data adapter equal new data adapter, and here we will use our command. So here we will try to get all the data from this table. So let's copy this select command, comma the connection object, and we also need data table. For that we need to use a namespace system.data. So control dot system.data equal new data table, da.fill dt, and now let's check if dt dot rows dot count is greater than 0. Then let's create a list of employees and give it a name list employees equal new list of employees. So now we will bind each and every employee to this list of employee equal new employee, and employee dot id is equal to convert dot to end 32, and dt dot rows and id. And if this condition is true, then we will use a for loop. So for int I is equal 0, I less than dt dot rows dot count I plus plus. So same employee dot name is equal to convert dot to string, and dt dot rows I, the index, and the property name, which is name. And here remove this 0 and pass index. So let's copy this and change the property as email for class and the database. And now is active. So let's copy this integer part because is active is integer, and change is active, copy and change the field name. Perfect. And finally, uh, list employees dot add employee. Done. So now whatever values we'll get from the database, this loop will bind each and every employee to this list. Now here, if lst employee dot count greater than 0, then response dot status code is equal to 200 means success, and response dot status message is equal to data found, and response dot list employee is equal to lst employees. uh, there is some typo mistake, so that is list employees. So copy and change it here. And if the count is 0, then in that case we need to return a different response. So code will be 100 and no data found, and for this list employee we will pass null. So save. So this is our get method. Now save this also, employee controller. Now come here. So let's use an object of dal class equal new dal, and response is equal to dal dot get all employees. And here we need to pass the SQL object. So first of all, let's use the namespace. So using system dot data dot SQL client, and here we will pass SQL connection. Connection is equal to new SQL connection, and here we will use this I configuration object. So I configuration dot get connection string dot toString semicolon, and here we will give the connection string name. So let me give CRUD connection. Save, and we need to pass this object here. So save, done. So this is our get all employees. Now we'll create another get method for get by ID. All right. So go to del. Let's copy this and paste. Get employee by ID, and we also need a ID. So int ID. Here we need to change the command where ID is equal to, we need to give the parameter as ID, and is active equal 1. So we will only return the active employees from the table. All right, save. For this we don't need list because it will always return a single employee. Okay, so employee employees. This one we don't need this loop also, and let's remove these two, and instead of I we will pass 0 because there will be only one row always. And here we will return if. Let's skip here and change the list employee to, now we will need to use this employee. So response dot employee is equal to employee, and in the else part we will use this. Save. So get by id is also done. Now go to employee controller, simply copy this and paste it here, and let's change the name as get employee by id, and here we will use int id, and here we need to pass id. So save and change this get employee by id, and with the connection pass this id object. So save. So our get employee by id is also done. So our both get APIs are ready. Now let's create a new API for create. So first go to dal and let's copy this one, paste, and change name as add employee. This will take SQL connection and employee object. So employee, and instead of this command we will use insert into the table name, which is which is tbl crud.net core. Here we will give the names of field, let's say name, email as active and created on, and then values, and values will come from the employees object. So this employee dot name, let's copy this syntax and paste 4 times. So first is name, second is email, third is active, and fourth is created on. So for created on we don't need to pass any date from the front end. We will pass a inbuilt SQL method which is get date. So if I try to show you in the SQL, if I do this command select get date, and if I click on execute, so see it will giving me the current date time with the accurate year, month, date, hour, minute, second, and milliseconds. All right, so we'll use this inbuilt method. So let's save, and we need to change this adapter with SQL command cmd equal new SQL command. Okay, and let's remove till here, and now connection dot open, we need to open the connection, and int I is equal to cmd dot execute non query, and now connection dot close. So after execution of our query we need to close the connection. So if, now we'll compare this I variable. So if I is greater than 0, then it means our record has been inserted successfully. So here we'll write the message employee added, and we don't need this employee here, and remove this. In else part, if by any chance this record will not get inserted in the table, for that no data inserted. Save. So our add employee dal method is ready. Go to employee class. Now http post. So that will be http post method. So http post and give a route and use the same route from here. Add employee and public res response add employee. It will take the employee class as parameters. So employee response is equal to new response return response. So here dal equal new del and response is equal to del dot add employee. It will take two parameters. First one is connection and employee. So we need to create a connection. So copy this connection from here and paste it inside add employee. So let's give connection first and then employee. So pass this employee class object. Save. Done. So our add employee is also done. So similarly, let's copy this and paste and create a update employee. So here we need to change the command. So update table name, and first we need to set the name. So set name is equal to cut this name syntax, this comma email is equal to email, and we don't need to pass this is active and created on. So let's remove everything after this, and we also need to pass the ID for which employee we are updating the record. So where ID is equal to employee dot ID. All right. So our command is done. Update table name, set name is this, email this, where ID is equal to this. Done. So employee updated, no data updated. Save. So update is ready. Now we need to go to employee controller. So let's copy this one and paste, and instead of post we will use put, and here we will use update employee. Also change the route as update, and here instead of add use update employee. So save. So our update API is also ready. Now the only API which is left is delete. So public response delete employee SQL connection comma ID. So it will take ID only. So response equal new response return response. Here SQL command cmd is equal to new command return. Delete from table name tbl crud.net core where id is equal to this id which we are getting from the parameters and connection object. Done. Connection dot open int I is equal to cmd dot execute non query and connection dot close. If I greater than 0, it means our command gets executed successfully. Then response dot status code is equal to 200. Response dot status message is equal to employee deleted. Let's copy this. Else employee deleted, no employee deleted. Save. Our delete del method is ready. Now go to controllers part and simply this will be http delete and route will be delete employee public response delete employee. It will take id as parameter, so int id, and here we need to pass the same route as get by id. So here response response is equal to new response return response. So del equal new del and response is equal to del dot delete employee. So we will pass two parameter connection and id. So let's copy the connection from update method and paste it here and pass this connection and id. So save. Now one thing is missing. We need to create this CRUD connection. So for that, go to SQL Server and open this app settings.json. So here we will create our connection string employee class. So respond this employee. So we for email we are getting email is active one name one. Okay. So let's try to click on continue. So we'll see what response we get. Perfect. So you see response is 200, status message employee added. All right. Now if I go to SQL Server and if I execute this command, so we'll see one employee. Perfect. So our add employee is working. Now let's create another request that is get, and if I use this URL and after that we'll use our get all employees, click on send. So we will get a list of employees. So you see, let me, so in list of employees we are getting one object. All right, so let me quickly create one more employee so that we will see the list of employees. So go to Postman. In the post call, let me change this to Virat Kohli and email also Virat. Send. status 200 employee added. Now go to your get, click on send. Now we will get array of two employees, one Manoj, two is Virat. Perfect. So our get employee is also working. Now if you see this get by id, so let me copy this and change the URL, and if I pass 1, so it will return the employee with the name Manoj and ID is 1 because we passed the ID 1. And if I change ID as 2, so it is returning employee with the ID 2. So our get by ID is also working. Now let's try this update employee. So let's copy this and let me use the same request. So change the URL and change the HTTP verb as HTTP put. And for that we need to pass ID also. If you see the dal method update employee, so here we also need to pass ID. All right. So here we are only updating name and email. So let's remove this is active. So Virat Kohli, the cricketer, and let me change also the email as Virat Kohli. So if you execute select all commands, so as of now name is Virat Kohli and email is virat@gmail.com. Now if I click on, wait, let me also give that ID column. So Virat ID is 2, so let's pass 2 and click on send. So employee updated, perfect. If you again go back to get all employees, okay, or go to SQL Server and execute this command. So name and email both has been updated as per our values, whatever we pass from this post put request. All right. So put is also working. Now let's try to execute our delete API also. So copy this delete, and instead of this get by ID, change the URL and pass ID for which employee you want to delete, and change the HTTP verb as delete, and we don't need any body. Okay, so if you see here, so as of now we are having two employees, and if I click on send, so employee deleted. Again if you execute, so only one employee is there. All right, so our delete is also working. So this is how you can simply create your .NET Core APIs for get all, get by ID, add, update, delete. This is a pretty straightforward code, and this is your DAL. We are having methods as per our controllers. All right, and here in this app.settings we are storing our SQL connection string to create a bridge between your .NET Core and SQL database. All right, so this is about today's video. I hope you like it. If you did so, hit the like button, share, comment, and if you are looking for any kind of technical help in your final year project, or if you are doing an internship and facing some problems related to React.js, jQuery, .NET Core, .NET API, and MVC, all right, SQL, MySQL, so you can contact me on my Instagram. My Instagram handle is Open Programmer, and you can also find the other contact details on my channel description. So I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.